chance to connect here. Usually the last class of a session, I like to give you the opportunity to request poses or any area of the body you want to work on. So if there's anything in particular that you want to do today, let me know. Otherwise, I've got a plan for us. So just type in the chat if that's the case. Otherwise, welcome, and let's get started. So just as a reminder, if you haven't joined us before, that we usually like to have props handy just in case. If you don't have blocks, you can use books or like a big bottle of vinegar or something like that. If you don't have a belt, like a cloth yoga belt or a cloth regular belt, you can use a tie or a Dynaband. I'll stretch it down. And my name's Pam, for those of you who don't know me. I also recommend having blankets or if you don't have a bolster or a zafu cushion, you can always use pillows, okay? All right, so again, any suggestions for our last class of the session today, please feel free to type in the chat. Otherwise, join me either seated or lying back. I typically recommend lying back just to begin, especially with a practice in the middle of the day, but if you feel more comfortable on your seat, that's okay too. So lying back, relaxing the shoulder blades down by keeping the arms face up and comfortably away from you. If the back is tired or sore, you can bend the knees, let them rest together, or lengthen out, or you can always put a prop under the legs as well. So coming to the most comfortable position for you, lying back and closing your eyes. Again, if you prefer to take a seat with me, that's okay too. And just coming to closing your eyes. Letting your shoulders begin to ease. Gently closing your eyes and coming into your breath. So breathing here for a moment. Inhaling to expand your belly towards the sky or the center of the room. Exhaling to bring your belly back towards your spine. Towards the earth. Letting go here. Just taking a few moments to watch the breath come and go. Without an insistence that it change, without judgment, to just notice. Where is the breath for you today? Trying to have an awareness of the breath in the belly, as if the belly were a balloon, and every time you breathe in, it gets bigger, and every time you breathe out, it gets smaller. Watching the breath come and go. Breathing in to expand, breathing out to release. Watching the breath. Just taking a moment here. And eventually maybe inviting a deeper breath without insisting. Maybe your hands rise because you've placed them on your belly. And they fall back as you breathe out. An awareness of your body and if you're holding any tension in the body. Try to send the breath there. Let the expansion of the breath in expand the body, expand those areas of tension. Let the release of the exhale bring you the breath out. Allow everything to ease and release. Letting go. Giving yourself a permission for this time to rest, to connect with your body, with your breath, without judgment. . Allowing yourself a few more moments in this place to rest and to breathe, and to set an intention for your practice for today. So if it resonates with you, offering yourself some gratitude for showing up on your mat today, for taking this time for yourself. And in your time, if that doesn't resonate with you, choose something that does. Maybe it's just how you can invite ease into each pose, or how you can invite your breath into the body a little more fully. Taking a few more moments here to rest, to breathe, and setting that intention for your practice. Again, perhaps just to be grateful for showing up to your mat. In your time, if you're seated with me, maybe wiggling your fingers and toes and stretching or moving in any way that you need before you come to join everyone on the back. And if you are on your back, again, wiggling your fingers and toes, stretching or moving in any way that feels good before you ask your body to move. So when we bring movement to the body, we do so gently and slowly, circling the wrists, circling the ankles, working in both directions. And beginning to rotate the legs and the hip sockets, using your core to keep the legs nice and rotating in those hip sockets, rather than rocking and rolling all over. There should never be any pain in yoga though, so if this bothers your back in any way, you can always just work with one side at a time, eventually changing directions, making sure you work evenly with both legs in both directions. Eventually bringing the feet back down to the mat. If your belt isn't close at hand, let it be a little bit closer. And if you don't have a belt, that's okay. You can always use your pants or your socks if you're still wearing them. So from here, we're going to come to leg stretches. So I'm going to place the belt over the foot, and I'm going to come to that space between being pointed and flexed. So kind of that center space. So maybe you flex, point, and then find that middle ground. The arms are not tugging or pulling on the belt. It's the dead weight of the arms resting down, holding that leg up, holding that belt up. And my knee is not locked. If you are really tight in your hamstrings, your leg stretch may be really bent, and that's okay. If you're a little bit more flexible, perhaps you're exhaling and lengthening your down leg along the mat, as if that leg is standing up. And only if the hip says, hey, I can go a little bit further, with an exhalation of your belly back, your leg tips a little bit towards your nose. Breathing here. Now, if this is all fine and good, you can try to come to half happy baby with the down leg down. And you can always use your belt. So take your belt in your right hand and then bend the knee as if it's coming out to the side. So opening into your chest, you're coming to half happy baby. If this makes your body unhappy in any way, bend the down leg and then try again. You can also forego the belt in happy baby and hold on to 2 fingers around the big toe, perhaps a little bit more comfortable if you can reach the inside or outside of the foot. So bringing the knee a bit into the chest, but also a bit to the side. Okay. Again, always working with belt if you need. Eventually coming back to lengthen the leg. let the leg tip a little bit towards you and then over to the other side. You can keep the down leg straight if that works for you. Breathing here. Releasing your right arm. Hopefully you're working out with the right leg right now. So my belt is in my left hand, my right arm is on the mat. I'm tipping my foot a little bit towards me, a little bit more. And if it's okay for my back, I'm going to come into a bit of a twist here. Okay. So still I'm rolling my shoulder blade down my back. And I may not come all the way, but if it's comfortable, and if you don't have a wall in the way, you can bring the leg all the way down to the mat. If that doesn't work for the shoulder, you can always bring the arm closer to your body. Just keep that shoulder blade rolling down your back. Breathing here. So my hips are on the ground. I'm just in a twist. Listen to your body. Be grateful for where your body goes without insisting that it goes further than it needs to. Eventually bend that top leg, let it lengthen again as you come back, bending the down leg. And before we move on, tipping the foot again towards you a little bit and then out to the opposite side, opening up the hip, perhaps taking the left arm this time. So right hand, right belt, right leg out to the right side, left arm out to the left. Left hip is still resting down. Maybe I even tip that left leg open just to ground that hip a little bit more to make sure that I'm really just stretching the leg here. That should feel nice and good. Eventually bringing everything back to center, bending the knees to do so. Coming back into a regular leg stretch again, maybe that leg lengthens along the mat. Maybe that foot tips a little bit towards you, but again, I'm not pulling or tugging on the belt to get there. Here's your breath. Inviting your breath to open the body. Bending the down leg, releasing the top leg, shaking it all out. Just lengthen both legs along the mat, and you might feel a little bit more release on the left. You might feel a little longer on the left, or sorry, the right. Or maybe the left if you chose the other leg that I wasn't doing yet. All right, so from here, we're gonna switch legs. So again, dead weight of the arms, holds up the leg, foot is somewhere in between being pointed and flexed. Always there's my breath. From here, maybe this side is even tighter and you know your hamstrings are really, really tight. So you have this leg bent. If that's the case, listen to your body, stay here. That's where you're at. Be grateful for where you are and start where you are. In your time, if you need a bit more, exhale, lengthen the down leg along the mat. Only if the hip lets go, the top leg comes a little bit towards you. Breathing there. Yeah, somewhere in between being pointed and flexed. Dead weight of the arms, holding up the legs. Taking your belt into the same hand that the leg is up. So I'm on my left side, so left foot, left hand. Coming into half happy baby, if that works for me, on this side with a straight leg. Perhaps I bend it to give my back a little break. Perhaps I can hold on to the foot. Maybe I stay with the belt. Still, there's your breath. Listening to your body. Being grateful for where you're at. And starting where you are. Eventually, coming back to a straight leg, perhaps re-straightening the down leg or leaving it bent, listen to the body, and then exhaling to tip a little bit towards you and over to the side. Just feeling a gentle stretch there. If your body feels good for a twist, if the twist felt good for you, perhaps you're just bringing that leg over. Still, you're rolling your shoulder blades down your back. Try not to hang out in space if you can. If you're going to, make sure your belt is supporting that leg. Otherwise, you can bring the leg onto a prop or the floor. Breathing there. Feeling that nice opening in the hips, the legs. Letting that release. In your time, bending your knees to come back to center. Coming back to leg stretch. Tipping towards you. Again, belt comes into one hand. Tipping the leg away from you the other direction. Opening the opposite arm to give yourself some support there, and maybe even letting that knee of that opposite leg fall out. Just to give you a little bit more grounding, to invite the hips down onto the mat, to invite the inner thigh to open a little bit more. Eventually, again, bend the knees as you need, come back to center, back to that regular leg stretch, perhaps adding the down leg, perhaps tipping the top leg towards you. Still, there's your breath. Eventually, slowly release, shake everything out. Give it a nice stretch, fingertips all the way to your tips of your toes. Reaching for both walls in either direction and then letting that go. Keeping your belt handy. Before we come into try to do Happy Baby one more time, we're going to exhale our arms towards the ceiling, place our hands on our elbows, and just wake up the shoulders a little bit more. Rotating the arms in the shoulder sockets, just like we did with the hips, but just with the arms in the shoulder sockets instead. Breathing as we move. Eventually pause in the center and exhale to one side. Paying attention to the shoulders. So you want to watch joint pain. There should never be any joint pain. The joints are like the wrists, the ankles, the knees, hips, shoulders. Eventually exhale and come back to center. And then on your next exhalation, slowly come to the other side. And you'll likely notice that one side is a little bit different than the other. Still, there's your breath. Eventually exhale, coming back to center. Again, shake everything out, let it go. And we'll give Happy Baby a try. And if that feels all right, we might try full Happy Baby. You can always use your belt for this if you wish, and we'll see if rocking feels good. If rocking doesn't feel good, you don't need to do it. Still, there's your breath, opening in your hips, and maybe you're just doing one side at a time. That's okay too. Listen to what the body's saying for today. And every day in yoga is different. Some days our bodies want to move in certain ways, other days they don't. It's important that we listen. Eventually, whichever position you're in, make sure you worked evenly, let that go, and begin to gently windshield wiper your knees, just slowly back and forth. Releasing any tension in the back. Having your arms in a T position, you can always take a look to make sure your arms are right in line with your shoulders or a little bit below. And then in your time, you're going to exhale and just let the legs fall to one side. And just pausing there in a nice, gentle, open twist. If it feels good for your back and your neck, you can have your head facing the opposite direction of your legs, if that works for you. Breathing here. Inviting ease into the shoulders. Inviting the hip flexors perhaps to open a little bit more. Slowly the head comes back, slowly the legs come back, and then we windshield wiper again. Releasing any tension. And in your own time, on an exhalation of your belly back, the legs fall to the opposite side. And perhaps your head follows, looking in the opposite direction of the legs. Releasing your shoulder blades down your spine. Being with each breath. In your time, with an exhalation of your belly back, your head comes back, your legs come back. A couple more windshield wipers here. And then move or stretch in any other way that you need to before you roll to your right side for a breath or two. And then eventually we'll use our arms to bring us to a seated position. From your seat, we're going to come onto all fours into our table pose. So this is where you may or may not need to pad your knees. I've got a double mat, so I'm okay for padding usually. And we'll do a couple of rounds of lateral cat, 4 cats. So rolling our shoulder blades down our back, spreading our fingertips. Movement starts in my hips, tail looks down, back comes up, head comes down on a breath out. On an inhalation, tailbone looks up, back comes down, head comes up. Follow your breath to neutral spine as you breathe out. Taking a breath in, and then following your breath out as you come to lateral cat. I look at my bum looks at me. As if I'm wrapping my body around a pole. As I breathe in, I come to center, exhale to the other side. Wrapping my body around a pole the other way. Exhaling to come to center and beginning again on a breath out, head down. On a breath in, head up. Coming to neutral and exhaling to either side as I come to my lateral movement. Eventually coming back to center, spreading the knees, toes together, release the arms forward, forehead comes to the mat, or stack your hands or fists to bring the mat to your forehead. 3 nice long deep breaths here. Feel the bottom release towards the feet as you breathe out. The head releases towards the fingertips. Release any tension in the shoulders. In your time, coming back to table pose and doing a few spinal waves. So I'm actually circling my body in one direction, releasing any tension in the body, waking up the whole spine, and eventually changing direction, working the spine to the other way, rotating, working evenly and then wagging my head and tail as I come into a bit of a cat head up and head down, really releasing the spine. Cat head up and head down, working with my own breath. Exhale to down, inhale to up, and then eventually release. We'll come into an extended puppy pose, curling the toes, reaching the fingertips forward, elbows stay up, forehead comes down. Couple of breaths here. Eventually, slowly come back. Coming onto the elbows to come to dolphin. So hands are in prayer position together. Shoulder blades are rolled down the back. Toes are curled. Spine is nice and long. Exhale your belly back. Float up into dolphin pose or downward dog on your elbows. Add 5 push-ups. So what does that mean? What's a dolphin push-up? I exhale and I bring my nose or my chin towards my thumbs. Exhale to slide forward for 4, 3, 2, 1. Coming back into dolphin and then slowly into child. Couple of breaths. This time coming up into downward dog. Hands under shoulders, roll the shoulder blades down the back, curl the toes, exhale your belly back to float up. Couple of breaths here. First dog of the day, so maybe you make it a moving dog, bipedal your feet, move the body around, whatever feels good. Eventually settle into that dog. Breathing there. Option 1, step the right foot up between your hands from downward dog. Option 2, drop to the knees to table and then take the foot between the hands, coming into lunge. From low lunge, plant the back foot, let it look out a little bit, bending the front knee, exhale into warrior 1. Gazing up between your hands, breathing here. Front knee, the hip feels like it's coming back a little, back leg. Hip feels like it's coming forward a little to square off the hips. Slowly release the arms. Open up the back foot, bending the knee a little bit more, coming on that angle so we can come into warrior 2. Inhaling to bring the arms up. Gaze over that front hand. Still lose your breath. From here, I'm going to flip my front palm. On an exhalation, watching that front knee, it's going to want to fall in. Watch it stay facing forward. Exhale into exalted warrior. So tiny back bend in an open twist as we're strengthening our legs. Breathing here. Slowly we come back into warrior 2 as we exhale. This time we're going to lengthen the front leg. Release the arms for a moment. Have a belt. This looks like a belt, right? Have a block handy. Everything the same, except this time my leg is straight, okay? Watch that front knee. It may still want to fall in. Keep it facing forward. And the body stays in line with that leg in the front. So we're going to exhale to tip. Find the block. Nice straight front leg, shoulder blades roll down your back. Back, both knees are not locked, and I'm going to gaze at my top hand. Trikonasana, triangle pose. To open the chest, open the heart. Breathe in. Being grateful for this pose that helps us to be strong. Helps us to beam the beautiful sunlight that comes from our chest out into the world. Sorry, your solar plexus. The seat of power. Exhale your belly back, bend your front knees, slowly come back up. Now we're in warrior two. We didn't change anything. All right, slowly release. We're going to bring, pivot back down into low lunge. Again, you can step right into downward dog, or option two, bend the knee and walk back to dog through table. Okay, so listen to the body. Breathing into dog, maybe gently shaking your head no. Maybe coming onto your tippy toes, and then inviting the heels back down to the mat. Take a rest in child's pose if you ever need one. From here, we're going to step the left foot up, or sorry, the right foot up this time. No, left foot up this time, or whatever foot you didn't do. Again, the option is, option one, just step your foot between your hands. Option two, take the left foot up and then coming into that low lunge. So working through table. Just gonna switch here. So if we're working through table, or even if we're working through downward dog into lunge, we're gonna eventually plant that back foot, bend the front knee, and we're coming right into warrior one. Gazing at the ceiling, the sky, open in the shoulders, slight back bend, front knee stays bent, strengthening that beautiful body of yours. Eventually, slowly releasing, opening the back foot, keeping the front knee bent to come into that warrior two pose. That knee will want to fall in, keep it open. Legs are like books opening. Eventually coming to that exalted warrior, so flipping the front palm, exalting the warrior, coming into that baby back bend in your open twist. Breathing here. Taking your time. Feeling the strength in the body. Eventually exhale, bring the arms back. Now we straighten the leg. We might need to grab our prop. Everything the same, front knee stays facing forward, but now we have straight legs. So tipping, staying in line with the body, bringing the top hand up, gazing at that top hand. Right in line with the body. If ever the shoulders are tired, you can always keep the hand on the sacrum instead. Continuing to gaze upwards. Breathing here. In your time, bending the knees, engaging the belly even more, slowly coming back up to that warrior two. From here, we can pinwheel our arms, pivot on the foot. Coming back to that low lunge. Again, you can option one, step the left foot up, back into downward dog, or work through table. So coming to the knees first. Rolling the shoulder blades down the back, curl the toes, exhale the belly back up to downward dog. Breathing there. Maybe shaking the head no, maybe backpedaling the feet, whatever feels good. Shaking the tail. Eventually coming down into child's pose for a couple of breaths. So toes together, knees apart. Resting the forehead on the mat, the hands, or a prop. Come into a couple of breaths here. Eventually, slowly come back. And we're going to try to see how we go. Around here. So we're going to come from table. We're going to step into plank on either regular plank, so regular push-up position, or plank on your knees. So if you're in plank on your knees, the cheating way is that you're really in table and you're not really feeling the belly engagement. This should be, if you're in plank on your knees, it should be difficult. Okay? All you did to come to plank on your knees is drop the knees. Okay? So still push-up position, still hard. And then from here, make sure those shoulder blades are rolled down the back, and we're going to lower into chaturanga. So the elbows come back and the forehead comes all the way down. And then we're going to try to come back up. Really, really important here. One of my yoga teachers used to say, you have to watch the shoulders because you don't want to have demonic shoulder. That's what she called it. Demonic shoulder, having the shoulder blades rolled forward, because you can actually really hurt your shoulders there. So roll those shoulder blades down your back as if you're pinching those shoulder blades together, curling the toes, and lifting back up into plank. Okay, so again, drop to the knees if you need, or try to roll back down into chaturanga. So this is almost like a tricep push-up because the elbows are hugging in and we're bending the elbows back towards our feet. All right, try that a couple more times. So from the mat, shoulders roll down the back, exhale your belly back to come up into a plank, and then exhale slow into chaturanga. If you're a seasoned yogi and you want to hover in chaturanga, you are my hero, you go for it. Otherwise, rolling the shoulder blades down the back, peeling yourself off the mat, and then slowly coming down one more time. Hover if you wish, if you can. One more time to come back up, and then stepping into downward dog. Breathing here, maybe wagging the tail, wagging the head, letting everything release. Coming back to extended puppy, so curl the toes, bend the knees, release the arms forward, forehead comes down, elbows stay up. Breathing there. And then slowly sliding onto the belly and coming into crocodile. So crocodile, I have one hand on top of the other, and my head can either be down, so forehead down on the arms, or if it's comfortable, I can bring one arm in front of the other, or even put a prop like a blanket, and look to one side. The most important part of this, though, is that if you're looking to one side, you also eventually turn and look to the other side. Otherwise, if possible, just bring the forehead down to the mat. To the hands. Releasing your shoulder blades down your back and breathing here into your belly. So this is a really nice way to remind yourself how to belly breathe. Because as you breathe in, your belly gets big and it pushes against the floor. And as you breathe out, your belly gets smaller and you get closer to the floor. So take at least 5 nice, slow, deep breaths here in crocodile pose. If the back is saying, hey, I don't love this, try curling the toes, see if that helps. And if not, just come out and rest in child's pose for a couple more breaths. Okay, so whenever you're ready, forehead to the stacked hands, one on top of the other, and a couple of nice deep breaths. As you rest on your belly and feel the breath come into the belly, feel the belly press against the floor. as you breathe in, and feel the belly fall back and you get closer to the mat as you breathe out. Feel the shoulders easing down your back. As you rest in crocodile for a couple more breaths. If you have your head turned to one side, if you haven't done so already, turn your head to the opposite direction. Couple more breaths here. Once you've had a couple more breaths there and you've worked evenly with your head looking to each direction, roll your shoulder blades down your back and curl back into child's pose. So knees apart, toes together, resting your forehead on the mat or your hands or a prop. From there, eventually we're going to come back down onto the belly. And I'm going to just stretch out the quads a little bit more. So I'm going to take hold of the top hand. I'm going to support my head with my other hand. My knee stays bent. And I'm breathing here to release the thigh. You can also roll back onto your tummy and release from here. Keeping the foot flexed, pressing the hips forward, feeling a stretch in the quad, shoulder blades roll down your back. Still, there's your breath. Eventually, slowly release, and you can work on the other side. So again, maybe you're upright, maybe you're rolled back onto your belly. Either way, supporting yourself, maybe with your forehead on the mat. Breathing there. Nice stretch in the quads. We'll bring our palms beside us after we've released from that stretch. If you're having tummy troubles, I wouldn't recommend doing this back bend. So perhaps coming onto your back and doing pelvic lift instead. Otherwise, from here, also if you're on your menzies, it might make it a little bit heavier. From here, we're going to exhale our belly back, engage it, and then inhale to come up into almost like a Superman pose. Except with our arms by our sides so we can get more aerodynamic. So the shoulder blades are rolled down the back, toes are pointed, fingers are together and pointed. Couple of breaths here, and then release those back to the mat. If all of that has felt okay, you can try to do a half bow. So half bow, similar to what we just did with our quad stretch, but this time I'm lifting up and pressing the foot into the hand, rolling the shoulder blades down the back, keeping the elbows bent. And I'm in a bit of a back bend. I'm in a bit of a half back bend here. If that works for you, I can do this on both sides right now. Try the other side. Breathing here. Feeling that nice stretch in the quad, feeling the back bend. If it works, perhaps. Not happening for me today, so maybe I'll grab my pants. Coming into a full bow. You can always use your belt. So everybody's different every day. So today my body says no bow for me. So listen to your body. Once you've done with your back bends, slowly come back down into child's pose. Few nice deep breaths there. And then in your time, we'll come back onto the back. And have a gentle rock from side to side. Head, neck, shoulders, everything comes with you. So maybe holding under the knees or on top of the shins and letting everything go. Giving the spine a nice massage. From here, holding underneath the right leg, lengthen the left leg along the mat. And let your leg move with your breath. So both legs are standing up, or your feet are flexed as if you were standing up. And as you breathe in, allow your leg to come a little bit away from you. And as you breathe out, allow your leg to come a little bit towards you. So breathing and making room for your belly as you breathe in. As you exhale, your belly sinks back. Leg comes a little closer. Work with that a few times on each side, eventually exhaling to switch. Working with your breath on the other side. You may find one side is tighter than the other. Eventually come back to center and have another rock. In your time, stretch or move in any way that you need to before you lie back. So if you've had enough back bending, maybe you don't come to a pelvic lift. But if that feels good for you, perhaps having a gentle pelvic lift, exhaling your belly back and lifting your pelvis straight up into the air, and then having another rock before you lie back. Move or stretch in any other way that you need before you come into Shavasana. Letting your shoulders go with your palms face up. Legs can be long, a little bit wider than your hips apart. Perhaps you want some support for the back, so you've placed a prop underneath your legs, or you're letting your knees bend and rest together. You can always sit with me. Taking your time to inhale and expand every part of the body, from the tips of your toes to the top of your head. Feeling every part expand as you breathe in. And release and rest down as you breathe out. Let there be nothing else. Reminding yourself of your intention from the beginning of your practice and letting that resonate with you. Offering yourself gratitude for showing up on your mat today. And gratitude for giving yourself permission to take this time to rest after your hard work. Feeling the expansion in the body from the tips of the toes to the top of the head with every single breath in. Feeling everything release, relax, and let go with every breath out, every breath in. mind wanders, just invite it back to your breath. There's nothing to do here. Just rest. Breathe. Release. Let go into the supporting arms of Mother Earth. Releasing the weight of your body into the loving arms to hold you up as you rest here for a little while longer. Resting. Breathing. Releasing. Just this moment, this breath. And as you follow your breath in and out of your body, perhaps offering yourself a message of loving kindness. As you breathe, reciting to yourself in your mind, breathing in, may I be filled with loving kindness. On your next breath, breathing in, may I be well. Letting your breath come and go. Breathing in, may I be happy. Following the breath, as it comes back into the body, may I be peaceful and at ease. Follow your own breath as you recite these words again to yourself. One more time. May I be filled with loving kindness. May I be well. May I be happy. May I be peaceful and at ease. Allow those words to linger as long as it feels right. Eventually letting them fade away. Focus on your breath for a little while longer. Perhaps envisioning that loving kindness spreading all over the outside of the body, from the tip of the head all the way to the tips of the toes, over each fingertip, over each part of the body. And that loving kindness can be maybe in the form of a brilliant light, whatever color you wish, just enveloping you, shining around you, supporting you in its arms. Resting, breathing, releasing. Eventually invite a deeper breath. Sigh it out. slowly begin to bring an awareness back into the body. Wiggling fingers, wiggling toes, stretching or moving in any way that feels right for you. Unless you wish to remain in Shavasana. If you do, feel free to stay here as long as you wish. If you'd like to close your practice with us, please roll to your right side for a breath or two. And use your arms to bring you to a seated position. Thank you very much for joining me today and for our sessions. I hope you've enjoyed. It's been a pleasure being with you. Take good care. From my light to yours. Namaste. The solar light or divine in me is honoring the solar light or divine in me. I hope you have a great rest of your summer, and I look forward to hopefully seeing you again soon. Thank you so